na wotamia dore jida. Apeto miebe mareke me sokli wo. Mia chakpe katana o. Mau akpe miada na o. Mia chakpe katana o. Mau akpe miada na o. Unsani nyume nyina iwaye Oso hene biaransa o Yere asire nyina mao Nyame aye nyina mao Yere asire nyina mao Nyame aye nyina mao.
I know you used to manage OG.
Yeah, I still do.
You still manage OG.
I still do.
That is how come I got to know you.
Chris Appau is a worship leader. Chris Appau is a music director. Chris Appau is a music producer. Chris Appau is a husband. Chris Appau is a music lecturer. Chris Appau, in a nutshell, is somebody who loves Jesus and found music as the best way to express his love for Jesus. Well, music for me is not an activity. Music for me is a life. And I've lived it from when I was really young. I think I started drumming at the age of 5 or 4. Yeah, I started drumming at the age of 5 or 4. And a lot of people thought, that was just a joke or it was childhood stuff, because most of the time I didn't have access to a drum. So I would gather these Milo and Conco things and just be playing my own beats. And a lot of people thought I was kidding until I went to church and then there was a drum, and on that day, the drummer didn't come. So I sat down and I wanted to express myself. And I was actually able to play to all the beats and things they were doing. We had a nice time after that. The pastor walked to me and said he wanted me to join the band. So I agreed to join them. I think I was around 9 by then. And it started from there. So I got to play drums for a while. Then I learned the keyboard. I could play basic stuff. I was able to play for 1 or 2 bands. Then from there, I went to the secondary school, and in the secondary school, I learned to play the lead guitar and the bass guitar. But in the secondary school, something happened. The best singer in the school was my senior, and he left when I was in second year. So I had to step up and sing. And that is how the singing thing began for me. But for me, singing is more about worship. I have a love for worship. I feel that is where I express myself the most. So it's not singing as in general singing. I don't write about everything. I've done a lot of work in the music scene, but my heart when it comes to singing is for worship. Yeah, I've studied music a bit. I've studied music professionally. I've studied music production. I've studied a bit of music theory. And so now I teach, and I've taught music at various levels. I've taught music at the basic level, at the Montessori level. And then now I have the opportunity to also teach part-time with Pentecost University in the applied musicianship module. For me, it was a blend of 2 things. My family is a very musical family. My dad used to be a guitarist and a songwriter. My mom used to be in the choir. So one way or the other, I had music all around me. And for most of my life, I got to live with the family. And my uncles sing, my aunties sing. Just that they didn't do it professionally. It was a lot more in church and church stuff. So I picked up a lot of music from church. And because I was doing it in church, there was a bit of freedom to express myself and do it in church. So I got much of my support from the family in the beginning. They were excited that, other people were into different kinds of things where if they went out, their parents were worried what time they would come back home because they were involved in one thing or the other. But they had a child who was involved in serving God and doing it in music. So I had a lot of support from home. The difficulty was not with support. The difficulty was with understanding. Understanding when it comes to marrying what I do and then the focus on basic education. My dad was a professional French teacher with GIS. At a point, he was promoted to be the head of French teachers in Accra. So coming from a very staunch educational background, he had a very strong emphasis that I finish at least the university level and then I can take on the music. But the passion was so strong that even at the secondary school level, I was involved in projects both in the studio, in people's churches, and in the school. And the struggle was that he felt that would take my attention from the education. So that meant I had to work extra to learn and then to also do the music, just so I could have both worlds. By the time I finished secondary school, I had done bits and pieces of almost everything performance. I had sung, I had played any instrument, all the instruments. So I was sort of confident that if you put me on any stage, I'll be able to perform. But after secondary school, I went for an event and I happened to talk to one of the bandsmen after the event. And he went on and on and on about the frustrations of a musician, how the music didn't pay enough, how all those issues about music. And then that almost got me discouraged. But a friend of mine invited me for a recording. And then I entered the studio and I saw this man. My first encounter with the studio was with, I think it was with Francis Osei, when he was starting his studio. I went there for a recording with a friend. His name is Jervis Jokoto. And I entered the studio and I had been playing music for a while. I had come back from secondary school. Everybody knew this guy was a good pianist and all. And then I entered the studio and I saw the man, the guy who was recording, and he recorded us. And then after he recorded us, I asked him how much he would charge if I had to come record. Then he gave me an amount. And I went to him, I was like, but if anybody paid me to do this for them, if even 4 people paid me to do this for them, I could live on it as a career. So that is what took me into music production and then the studio environment. Because I realized that if you wanted to do music as a career, it was not in performance. You had to find something to do, because until you make that big break, you don't really know how the music can take care of you. There's the ministry element of it, where God asks you to dedicate your life to Him and do it like that. And God Himself has a system to take care of you. But part of that system is for you yourself to develop ideas that can sustain you. So that is what I found with music production. So what made it really apparent that I was born for this was that in that season, when I got to music production, I just looked at my life and looked at how I had been involved in music everywhere I went. From school to church to everything I was involved in had to do with music. And I was playing critical roles almost everywhere I went. So I knew it was something I was supposed to do. When I got to music production, that increased my certainty in the fact that I could do it and be fine. That is when I decided that I was going this journey. My working relationship with a lot of people has been great. I'll say great not because it's always good, but because even the bad things are a learning experience. I came to the industry as a learner. I still am a learner. So my outlook on things is I learn from experiences. When I started production with Macarius Music. And in Macarius Music, I had to work with Eugene Zuta. I had to work with M. Praise in the beginning. I had to work with Kobe Mante. I had to work with... We did one project with the late Danny Neti. And I was recording engineer, and I had to mix a few songs for them. That project was a very challenging one because I didn't have the full expertise of a producer. So, I would be in the studio for 3 days trying to figure out one mix, and the pressure was on. Because these were guys who were already out there. They knew what good music sounded like. But now to have the responsibility of producing it was a very big task. And you do something you are very excited about, and they come and hear it and they are like, no, this one, it doesn't work that way. And then from there, I had to work with Ohima Mercy at Royalty Music. I had to work with Ohima Mercy, Francis Amo, and a few other guys. And that was another challenging task, especially for Tehila. I was audio producer, audio manager for 2 editions of Tehila. And on both projects, it was a Herculean task. Having to work with almost 12 artists a night, and I had to record each of them. And then after recording them, we had to do the post-production and make sure everything. And that was all on me. The person who gave me that project was Mr. Joseph Ochi. He was the front of house engineer for that gig and called me to come and record. And then after recording, I got to work with Ohima Mercy in her studio at Royalty Music. And then from Royalty Music, after Royalty Music, I started my own studio, Spirit Life Music Studios, where I got to work with people like Neo Kai, Minister OJ, Dr. Kanayo from the UK, Cheko Ankra from the UK, and a few others. Yeah, so at various times in the industry, I found myself doing various things or serving various people and helping them do things in their ministries to help them succeed. But overall, I think my experience has been a great one because I've learned a lot. My own children. Oh, why not? Definitely, I would advise, because most of the time, when our parents, I have a view that parents love their children more than anybody can. It's my view. But in the mode of expressing that love, you can want something for your child, which is not God's idea. And then that brings trouble. Out of genuine love and a desire for their child to succeed. So what we do, what I feel can solve certain problems is knowledge. And as far as my experience, I think I have an idea what it takes for somebody to do music and not be stranded. Because to do music ministry and be stranded is mostly traceable to lack of knowledge. It's mostly traceable. So if my children genuinely have a passion for music and they want to do music, it becomes my role to guide them as to how it is done. Okay, so a part of my ministry a lot of people don't know is my worship ministry, because for the longest time that has been limited to church. I believe that God does his own thing in his time, and if you learn not to go ahead of God's time, he has a way of bringing you out when the time is right. So I was leading worship in church for about 6 years. I had never gone for a program anywhere. I had never gone to do anything anywhere. I was just doing my thing in church. And then one day I was in prayer. And then in meditation, the Lord said I should do an event and thank and usher people into the new year. That was in 2012. I should do an event and usher people into the new year with worship. Sorry, that was 2011. So in 2012, we had the first edition of the event. I never would have made it. And I told people, well, I don't really have intentions of becoming an artist. So I was just doing the event to put people together, to come and thank God and enter into the new year with worship and just go home. And then we finished that event. Somebody invited me to her church to come and lead worship. And then another person invited me to his church. Then I started realizing, okay, this looks serious. So I started reading worship books. I started investing more time in worship because my heart mainly was to serve in church and do what I do in church. I really did not have any mind of going around and I loved what I do in church. I love what I do in church. So that started, I never would have made it in 2012. And then we did it for about 5 editions. And we realized that anytime we would go for rehearsal with my team, preparing for the program, God would give us songs. We'll be worshiping and then we'll get new songs. We'll start singing. So we did a first recording project in 2015. We recorded our first album. The name of the project was Sounds of Rejoicing. We did that one. But at that time, my mind was not on industry. So we just recorded and circulated to a few people who came for the event, and that ended it. But I realized after that event, the songs kept coming. Every time I would sit at the piano at home and worship, or in church, or I'm preparing for a program, I'd get a new song. So I realized, okay, we needed to put something together. So I called a few friends. So I never would have made it. We would record a number of songs and then we would look at the one that ministered to the audience. And so over 6 years, we sat down and said, okay, after 6 editions, let's just pick some of the songs over time that have blessed people and put on a project. And then we selected the songs, we put them together with my team, HPI. That's the team of people who back me, who go around with me. We put the project together. Now, we had to name it. And that was the interesting part. People came up with various names they wanted on the project. Then one day I was doing my quiet time in meditation. The Holy Spirit asked me, who is all this about? Then I said, God. Then he said, and who is God to you? And when he asked me, who is God to you? I got caught up, not because I didn't know what to say, but I couldn't find one word that expressed all God is, and yet also brought that feeling of intimacy. Because you see, if you use the word Jehovah seems to capture, or Yahweh seems to capture all that there is to God, but it's still too far away. If you look at the maker of the heaven and earth, it's difficult to relate with. If you look at healer you can relate with healer, but God is not just a healer. So we thought, prayed about it one, and then one time I just heard a word in my spirit, Abbra. And we named the project Abbra, the Worshipper's Journal, because the songs are a journal. If you take it as a project and you put all the songs together, it's like a journal of different things about God at different times. That's what the album represents. And then we put the main theme as Abbra, simply because Abbra is one word that expresses all God is, but within the context of an intimate relationship. It's like when you know your father so much that you can call him Da or Dada instead of saying Father. That is what Abbra is. So that's how the Abbra project was put together. Okay, so Abbra is a 10-track project. Starts with track 1, Your Word. Your Word was the last song we did. It's interesting. Your Word was the last song we did, but it's a devotional song that we will take you into the presence of God and will get you to focus on the Word of God. That word that we need each day. That is, track 1 is Your Word. Track 2 is Woso, featuring Luigi McLean. Track 3 is Obiara and Sel, featuring Kofi Owusu-Pepra. Track 4, which is some people's favorite, is No One, featuring Pastor Cynthia Macaulay. And then track 5 is the reprise of No One, which features Pastor Isaiah Fosu-Kwachi Jr. in addition to Pastor Cynthia Macaulay and myself. And then track 6 is Akpekata, featuring Joe Metal. Yeah, that's one of the personal favorites as well. Track 7 is Through It All. And on Through It All, I featured my wife, Lydia Appau, who is a phenomenal singer. Yeah, that is one of our songs as a couple, because it means a lot to us. Track 7 is Through It All. And then on track 8, I got us dancing a bit with Tasted, featuring my friend, Minister Igwe. And then track 9 is a medley. We call it the Afropop Chorale, because it is choral songs we have put in Afropop genre, just to get you dancing and praising for some time. And then the ultimate praise experience is on track 10, which is the HPI Praise Jam, where I feature my brother Tino Manford and Stephanie Echampo. Yeah, so that's the Abbra album. Well, it was amazing. I mean, for me, the experience of recording was amazing because it wasn't recorded once. It's over 6 years. So we recorded 2 songs today, recorded another 2 songs in another concert. But the thing that pieces through or runs through all the songs is that we got to do them with people, saw it bless people, saw people experience the songs. So we were sure what the response would be if they had to come out. Yeah.
And how has been the reception so far after its release?
It's been great. It's been great. I mean, I think you can't blame people for not accepting your music if you don't make the music accessible to them. So what we did in this season is to make the music accessible. And once we made it accessible to everybody, then we realized, people actually love the music. And the thing I love about this album is every kind of Christian has his lot in there. I mean, if you are the super spiritus kind of person, you will find your level between track 1 and 4. If you want something mellow, something cool to meditate with, you will find your lot in there. If you are the jumpy person who wants to dance and have a good time, you also find your lot in there. So I think, the reception has been great, and we keep getting the testimonies of people being blessed. Even as at now, just a few weeks after the release, it's been great. Yeah, I've received a lot of shock expressions from many different people, and I'm used to it. I get that a lot because I'm different things to different people in different places. So occasionally, I remember this situation where there was a church I used to play for before I went to the secondary school, and they knew me as a keyboardist, and a very good one. Then I went to the secondary school and came back, and they had a program, and I got to the program, and the bass player hadn't come. So I just strapped up the bass and I started playing. And then I realized they were all looking at me weird, like, what can this guy do? So I get that a lot, but I believe that the more God endows you with, the more responsibility you have, like the servant who was given 5 talents, to use it and build things out of it. Yeah. So I feel very honored. I feel very humbled that God has invested all this in me. And my lot is to make the best out of it. It's been great. It's been great in the sense that there are people I didn't even expect to respond to the music. Not because they wouldn't like. I do a lot of things without expecting too much from anybody. Because I feel nobody really owes you anything. If people get to listen, I tell my team that when you are doing an event, the people you should respect the most are the people who take their time to come and sit down at the event. Because nobody really owes you anything to leave their house, pick a cab or drive his car, spend fuel, come and sit down and listen to you. So in that same vein, I really don't go about thinking anybody owes me anything. Even the people I have worked for. I feel we did some work, I added value to them, they also added value to me, I learned, and it ends there. So coming from that background, I really appreciate the people. I've seen a lot of people share my posts, and no one has been left out. And they meet you, and they actually mention a song or two. You know the person has listened to the album. Like some people did endorsements for me, like Mama Dinah Kiumi. Dr. Sonny Badu did an endorsement for me. Joe Metal did his. A lot of people have done endorsements for me. And what humbles me about the endorsements is that they get to mention a song in the album that they like, means they've listened to it. So, apart from saying that I have received a good response from the industry, I would also want to use this platform to thank everybody, from Joe Metal to Mama Dinah Kiumi, Dr. Sonny Badu, everybody, Kofi Kakari, my brother Kobi Mante, everybody who threw their support behind this, Eugene Zuta, Neo Kind, the list is endless. But people have really shown me love, and I think it also goes to prove that if you pay your dues, you will also get it paid back when it is your turn. Because I've been in this industry for close to 2 decades. And like I told you, I have been different things to different people at different times. At one time, I was somebody's keyboardist. At another time, I was somebody's drummer. At another time, I was recording for somebody. I have musical instruments that I rent out. At certain times, I would go and support somebody. So when it gets to the time when it is being paid back, even if you don't expect it, people rally around you and they help you do what you do. So, on your point, I would say, by the grace of God, I have received good reception from the industry. You should serve. I remember so because you've spoken about Minister OJ, and I still manage Minister OJ, I can talk about it here. I still manage Minister OJ, and I manage digital media for him. I met OJ a few years ago, and we had a chat. And then I realized none of his songs were on any digital platform. So I took it up myself. I decided that I would be the one who would put his music everywhere. I decided I would be the one who would give attention to his social media. A few years ago, he was talking about it, and somebody heard and told Pastor Joe Bicham. So Pastor Joe Bicham gave me a call and asked if I would. I said, I did it for Minister OJ, I would do it for you. And I can tell you on this platform, in both cases, there was no charge. I just wanted to do it genuinely for them because it was an opportunity I got to serve. And that is all I have been about from the very beginning. So if you serve and you are serving genuinely, not to create a platform for yourself, but of a genuine interest to see the person you are serving move to the next level or to add value to the person, you get it paid back. My expectation for Abbra is that anybody who listens will encounter God. That anybody who listens will feel something new about intimacy with God. It is my personal vision for Abbra that even unbelievers will listen and love God and give their lives to God, that the sick will listen and be healed, that people will listen and feel what it is like to encounter God, the same way people in scripture encountered God, and people like Jacob were changed to Israel. Harlots were turned into evangelists after one encounter. That is my prayer, and that is my expectation for Abbra, that it will be a blessing to anybody who listens. Yes. So I'll share 3 testimonies. The first one is, there was a time, I think 3 years ago, we suffered a crisis, my wife and I. And it happened in October when I was preparing for I Never Would Have Been. So I was like, this year, I don't think I'll do this event because it was a blow. I mean, we lost our child and it was a blow. So I was like, I mean, other people are doing events this year. They should just spare me. I mean, everybody will understand. And then on Sunday, I went to church and a guy walks up to me and says, oh, you don't know me, but I'm finance manager for this company, West African sub-region, and I've been following you. So I asked him, I said, how have you been following? He said, oh, I come for I Never Would Have Made It. And that is my starter for the year. That event starts me for the year. So next year, so is the first Sunday or second Sunday. Then I stood there well. I looked at the guy and I was like, I'll take your contact and let you know when we are, because at that practical moment, I mean, the event was cancelled in my mind. But when somebody walked up to me and said, that is what starts off my year, I'm like, wow. Then we had that event, and one of the ladies who came for the event, she came the day of the event, spoke to me at the event and said, Minister Chris, I want you to pray with me. And I asked her what to pray about. She said, there's a way she's been feeling. She was pregnant, and she said she had this strange feeling that she will miscarry. So I should pray with her. So there were 2 of my friends who were pastors. I just called them, we stood there. We held her, we prayed with her. The next year she came for I Never Would Have Made It with her baby. That's the second testimony. And then the third testimony, we were preparing for the final phase of recording the album. And I was listening to the album in my car and driving to the venue. And then, just when we got to Trinity Baptist Church, just when we got to the junction to branch to the church, my wife started crying and shaking in her chair. It got me, I mean, afraid. I was like, what's wrong with you? And then I was going to turn the music down. She said, no, let it keep playing. And it was track 4. It was track 4. The Cynthia Macaulay song. And so she was vibrating and crying and singing and everything. I couldn't understand what was going on. So I gave her some time. And then even when we got to the church, I had to leave the music on repeat and just leave her with the music in the car for about 30 minutes. And then I got back. She had recovered. Then she looked at me and said, "Thank you." And I said, "For what?" She said, "There's a dimension I haven't got into in worship that you have helped me to access." And from that day, her prayer life has never been the same. And I mean, if I didn't believe anybody's testimony, this one is right in my house. I mean, if you are married, you know that you can't act in front of your family, especially your wife. It won't work. You can't act because you live with the person. So she did it. I said, and it humbled me. I mean, I was shocked. I still am shocked. The testimonies keep coming in. Yesterday, I had a message from one of my senior men, Denzel Ajimai Prempe. He texted me and said, "I've been listening to one of your songs, Your Word, since 3 a.m. and it's been on repeat." And I hear some of these testimonies. It humbles me because this is purely God. This is purely God, and it is an answered prayer. Yeah, I get that a lot. Pastor Isaiah Fosukwache and I, we go a long way back. He's been a friend. He's been a father. He's been a mentor. He has inspired so many things I do. He's part of the reason I didn't get discouraged and I'm still doing this. And he means a lot to me. I love his ministry. I appreciate his ministry so much. We are not related by blood, but spiritually, we are very much related. And I honor his ministry a lot. So if you want to follow me on all my platforms, the handle is at Chris Appau Official. On Instagram, on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Chris Appau. Yes, once you type in Chris Appau, you'll see the Abbra artwork on my status. That's Chris Appau. And then on all the other platforms, it's Chris Appau Official. On X, on TikTok, on IG, Chris Appau Official. Yes, and then also, before I leave, let me take this opportunity to appreciate my family, especially my mom and my wife, Lydia Appau. They have been two pillars that have really stood by me in ministry. We've been through so much together, and I love you deeply. I love you deeply. Thank you to all my family, my church, Trinity Baptist Church, Reverend Kinsley PJ, and all our pastors, Pastor Ruben, Pastor Sai, Reverend Kata, Pastor Ima, everybody. I so appreciate your support, my Trinity Baptist Church family, Apostle Danclad, Ever Fruitful Christian Center, Reverend Elton Dusi, and all the people who have supported me, Mrs. Nyantechi, all my family and friends, church. You have helped me to come this far, and I appreciate all of you. All my HPI people. HPI is our singing ministry under Chris Appau Ministries. I love you all. Thank you so much for your support. And last but not the least, I want to appreciate my big man, Hypes Media, for this opportunity to just be a blessing. Thank you so much. Abbra is on all digital platforms. Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, and all the digital platforms. Boomplay, Audiomack, it's everywhere. Abbra, ABBA, by Chris Appau and HPI. You have a wonderful experience. On YouTube, we have 4 videos. Apekata is there, the Afropop Chorale is there, the HPI Praise Jam is there. We have a single, Greater. It's also there on YouTube. So when you go on YouTube, the handle is SLM Records. SLM Records, you get the songs. I have a message that runs across everywhere I go. My message is our solution is Jesus. Our solution is God. The world is getting darker by the day. People are getting more wicked by the day. Corona just hit. We don't know what will hit next. But I can assure you that if you give your life to Jesus today, you will be assured that in the fire he will be with you, in the storm he will be with you, in the rain he will be with you. My message is simple. Jesus is the answer. Get to know him, serve him with all your heart, and you will never be disappointed.
Hello family, my name is SK Frimpong, and always watching Hypes Media. Please keep following them on all social media platforms. You'll be blessed.